How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the channel. So with Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom now in theaters, we're going to be ranking the 2023 comic book films of the year. This is something that I am really excited to do, mostly because I had a lot of fun doing it last year. So let's go ahead and get started with the rankings. Coming in at number 9, we have Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Now, I was really excited for this movie, mostly because I really love what James Wan was able to do with the first film. I thought that movie was a lot of fun, and even though this movie came with a lot of baggage, I was really excited to see how the DCEU was going to end, even though they didn't know this was going to be the last film. And quite frankly, I really didn't enjoy my time with this movie. I thought it was a jumbled mess. It felt like they were shooting an outline for the film, and Jason Momoa was just able to roam around and do whatever he wanted and be as charismatic as he wanted to. However, that didn't really translate onto the screen as much as it should have, even though there were some cool action sequences here and there. I thought Patrick Wilson was okay as Orm in this movie, but I just came out not having as much fun as I should have, especially since I came out having a lot of fun with the first Aquaman. Coming in at number 8, I have Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. I really enjoy the Ant-Man films from one degree to another, so making this third film feel more of an Avengers type film, that is where this movie kind of lost me. Paul Rudd is still fantastic as Scott Lang. I thought the chemistry that he has with Catherine Newton in this movie was okay. It was just a gigantic mess from beginning to the end, mostly because I felt like they underutilized Kang in this movie, and it might not matter now, seeing how we might not see Kang in the foreseeable future. But as far as Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, I thought Kang was underutilized. Jonathan Majors does his very best with the material that he is given. However, it felt like Hope, Janet, and Hank were really pushed to the background of the film, and they didn't really contribute much to the movie. Overall, I don't think it's the worst thing that I've seen this year, but it was just a bit of a disappointment for me. Coming in at number 7 is another MCU film, and that is The Marvels. While I really enjoyed it to one degree or another, the thing that really kept this movie from being lower on the list for this ranking was just Iman Vellani as Miss Marvel. I thought she had so much fun with this movie, and seeing her family back in this movie and getting a bigger role than I thought they would have, it still wasn't as good as it should have been, especially when you have these three coming together, and the villain is just absolutely forgettable. There is nothing in this movie that really sticks out to me besides the post-credit scene. Everything in this movie is just another jumbled mess. It just felt like they were throwing a lot of things at the wall, and I wanted to have fun with this movie, but at the end of the day, it was just one that it's easy to rewatch, but just for the Miss Marvel scenes. Coming in 6th, I have Blue Beetle. This was a big surprise for me, mostly because I did not have any expectations for this movie. It was originally supposed to be sent to HBO Max, and then it got a theatrical release, so that kind of boosted a little bit more confidence in the studio. And I had a lot of fun with this movie. Is this generic? Absolutely. But I still had a lot of fun with the Reyes family. I thought the chemistry between the family, just like Miss Marvel, that's what really kept this movie from being lower, is the fact that you had the Reyes family, and I really loved the interaction between everybody in this movie. I thought the humor was on point. I really enjoyed that. Are the villains generic and forgettable? Absolutely, but I still had a lot of fun. I came out pleasantly surprised with this movie. I didn't expect the tears to come flowing, but that's exactly what happened in this movie, and I just had so much fun. Coming in at number 5 is Shazam 2. While this movie is okay to say the least, and I liked it a little bit more than Blue Beetle, I really still like the interactions between the family in this movie, and I think that is a common theme that we have with this ranking. Just seeing the Batsons come together and fighting side by side, I thought it was a lot of fun. There were a lot more fun sequences in here than there were in Blue Beetle or the Marvels, and I still really enjoy Zachary Levi as Billy/Shazam. I thought the chemistry between everybody was fantastic, even though there are some wonky things here and there. Some of the CGI doesn't work for me as much as it should have, and it comes close to being forgettable, but I still had a lot of fun with this movie. It puts a big smile on my face whenever I try to check it out. Not going to revisit many times like the first Shazam, but I still had a lot of fun. Coming in at 4th place is The Flash. While I don't think it is the greatest comic book film of all time, a lot of people were really pumping this out to be, I thought it was still a lot of fun, but it was just okay. And that's sadly where we are with 23 comic book films. Aside from my top two comic book films of the year, it was just a lackluster year for comic book films. There were films that I was really excited to see, but I just came out semi disappointed and I wanted a little bit more. But with The Flash, this is going to be a movie that will forever hold a special place in my heart just for personal things that happened around that time. It's something that I will always treasure. But I thought Ezra Miller was fantastic as past Barry and present Barry. I thought there were a lot of more fun sequences. Seeing Michael Keaton come back as Batman was absolutely great, and I thought Sasha Calle was fantastic as Supergirl, even though it looks like we might not be getting more of her as Supergirl, which is kind of really disappointing because I thought she was one of the highlights of the film. It was just one of those movies that I had fun with, but it's not one that I'm going to rewatch anytime soon or have any desire to rewatch. It was just an okay movie. Coming in at number three was one of my biggest surprises, and that is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. I had no expectations for this movie, and I came out pleasantly surprised. I'm gonna be honest, up until 5 minutes ago, I didn't know this was a comic book film. I didn't know that you'd consider this as a comic book film, but here we are. The fact that you had actual teenagers being the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I thought added a little bit more to the movie. I thought the chemistry between everybody was fantastic. You felt the brotherly bond in here, and Jackie Chan as Master Splinter was great. I really enjoyed some of the story. Ice Cube as Superfly was absolutely fantastic, and I wanted to see a little bit more of him. It even got a little bit more darker as the film went on. Plus, you also had the other mutants in here that I absolutely really loved and adored, and kind of wish they had a little bit more to do. But this was one of my most pleasant surprises of the year. I thought it was a fun little movie, but not one that I'm gonna be rewatching anytime soon. But if you have kids and you haven't checked it out, go ahead and check it out because it is a lot of fun and it's going to entertain them to no end. But coming in at number two is another movie that holds a special place in my heart, and that will forever be Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. What James Gunn was able to do, tying this whole series up and giving us a finale to the Guardians, is a difficult watch for me nowadays. The way that he pulled a lot of fake outs in here, pulled on our heartstrings, giving us the backstory of Rocket and his interaction with his friends, Floor, Teeth, and Lila was just absolutely soul crushing. It didn't rely too much on the humor. This was more of a darker film than I was expecting it to be. So if you're somebody that hasn't seen it and is really sensitive to animal cruelty, you might want to take it easy with this movie. It's definitely a lot of fun still, but it's just one of those films that is hard for me to watch nowadays. Eventually, I will probably end up watching it again without bawling my eyes out, but it's going to take me a little while. Aside from that, James Gunn really did a fantastic job with just ending this story. It was a lot of fun. It got dark. It was sad. I bawled many, many, many times, and it was just a pleasant surprise that I really loved and I really adored. And I can't wait to see what James Gunn is going to do with the DC universe. But coming in at number one, it might end up being my number one favorite film of the year, but that is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I had high hopes for this movie. This was my number one most anticipated film of the year. The fact that we waited almost 5 years for this movie, and hopefully we don't get to wait another 5 years for Beyond the Spider-Verse, was worth the wait. I absolutely love this movie. This movie was just absolutely perfect. From the moment this movie starts, you kind of see how different and special this movie is going to be, especially seeing how this movie is more centered around Gwen Stacy and the interaction between her and her father, what led her to really stray away from people and not really interact with anybody, giving us a little bit more story and background and context to her relationship with her Peter Parker. I thought was soul crushing. The relationship that they built a little bit more between her and Miles was absolutely fantastic, and even the family dynamic in this movie was absolutely great. It was great to see that there were a lot more themes discussed in this movie that made it better than the first film. I really love all the animation styles. I really love what they were doing. However, Spider-Man's universe looks completely different. The watercolor palettes, the animation style, the visuals, the action. I thought Oscar Isaac was fantastic as Miguel. And then just leaving off with that surprising ending that just made my jaw drop, and those closing credits. This movie was absolutely perfect to me. I absolutely love this movie, and it is my favorite comic book film of the year, and it most definitely will end up as my #1 film of the year. But those are my rankings for the 2023 comic book films of the year. Let me know down in the comments how you would rank yours, and let me know what is your favorite and least favorite. Go ahead and drop the thoughts in the comments below, and I'll catch you guys on the next video.